Yo, 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 yo. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Scream Scene. I'm Jody Dean. Tonight, I have a special co host with me, one of my greatest friends, Sam. I call her Sammers. Sam from Sam's Pretty Paranormal. What's going on, Samstress?
Hey, hey everybody. Yeah, I'm glad you invited me to host with you tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. We both have a love for the paranormal. We both investigate. We've investigated together. If you guys don't know, she's actually in my movie Mallet 2, which is coming out October 11th. Um, be-
Yes.
Before we jump into this big conversation about the paranormal, what was the experience like? Being on set for your first time, acting in a movie for your first time.
Um, well, I will say, I was nervous because usually when I've done like little projects that I've done by myself, just filming myself, I'm kind of, it's different because you're by yourself and you can kind of just adjust where you need it. But I was nervous because I wanted to make it good. I wanted to act good. But overall, I mean, it was so chill. You were so easy to work with, just good directions. Like it was easy. It was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And you were very easy to work with too. I love that when that happens. You never know what to expect. Like you can meet somebody, tell them about your vision, but until you get there on set, you don't know what to expect ever. And in this case, it flowed like blood. And there was a lot of blood. Oh God! If
Oh
you
my
guys didn't
god.
see how much blood Sam was covered in, there's a little behind the scenes clip on the Mallet Facebook page. You can check that out. I know you had a hard time getting that stuff off you. Alicia said it took you like a week or some shit.
Yeah, well see, it I guess I made it worse because I just kept running my hands through it. If I would have just like kept it confined to where it was, probably wouldn't have been bad. But yeah, I had to Google how to get Vaseline because
Oh
I think
my
it was like
God.
a substance, right? And yeah, Dawn will get it out.
Dawn does. Okay. All right. So now I know in the future when I rub somebody down with some Vaseline, we know how to get it off now. So, um,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's good to know. I hadn't ran into that issue because I don't think I covered anybody in as much Vaseline as I did you. I slimed you up. I mean, we wanted you to look very, very gory, and you did. But when I added color correction, it made all that blood and everything pop, and it was just a whole different scene. The edited version in real time, it looked great, but edited, just oh god, phenomenal.
Oh God, yeah. Because even when because I have seen just a little bit. You showed me just a little bit, and gosh, it's crazy.
Oh my god, I just bumped the damn computer. What's wrong with me? Um yeah, no. Well, actually, you know what? You're one of the first people to see any behind the scenes of it. And I have this thing now to where it's like if Alicia's not available, I see if you're available because you're one of our close friends and you shoot it to me straight. So yeah, Sam got a little sneaky peeky before anybody else, man. And yeah, we're so stoked you were a part of it. But anyway,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
absolutely. Um, moving on, moving along. We were talking today, and we were saying it'd be awesome to approach the paranormal topic. So before we get too deep into it, I mean, how did you really find out about the paranormal? Were you a kid? Is it something that kind of um approached you later in life, like maybe seeing the shows like most people nowadays, or what was it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So when I was like 5, um, I had an imaginary friend, and my mom was like, "Oh, she's got an imaginary friend," and her name was Chastity, and this imaginary friend was very real to me. Now, I couldn't tell you what she looked like,
Mhm.
but it was very, like, intense, so much to the fact that my mom had to set a plate for her at the table. She had to get a gift when I got a gift, Christmas, like all of that. Like
Oh
it
my
was
God.
really insane how intense it was. And she even asked my pediatrician about it. She was like,
Mhm.
this is why. I mean, she's like really invested in this, you know.
Mhm.
And pediatrician was like, well, just, you know, just keep an eye on her, but it probably just it'll be something to dissipate, like she'll grow out of it, which I did. But my mom was like, one day you come up to me and I had asked you about Chastity, and I was just like, oh yeah, she died. Like she got hit by a car. She's gone. I don't know where she went. And my mom was like, that is a really weird way to just to get
Yeah.
rid of an imaginary friend.
She got hit by a
Um,
car. She's gone. I don't know what to tell you,
yeah,
mom.
but my first real ever thing that like happened to me, like, so me and my dad, we've always watched horror movies together. It's
Mhm.
the horror movies, paranormal, all of that stuff. So I always loved the paranormal,
Mhm.
but me and my mom moved into this apartment when I was like 8, and when we first moved in there, like I did not like it. I did not like it. It was a freshly done apartment, new paint, new carpet, like all of that. And I found out why later, but um I was asleep one night and I just woke up, and in front of my sliding door closet, it was like this vivid outline. Like there was no detail, but you could tell it was an old woman, and I
Oh
was like,
wow.
"Oh, heck no." So I jumped out of bed, I ran to my mom, and I was, like, scared, and I was telling her, and she was like, "Oh, you know, you was probably dreaming." I was like, "Heck no, that wasn't like, I was awake, I saw that." And, anyway, I done a little investigating on my own because she's never believed in the paranormal. And,
Mhm.
we had this really good friend that lived next to us. She was an older lady, and so we was over there talking to her, and I was like, "Did anybody live in that apartment before we moved in?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Matter of fact, it was an older lady. She had a heart attack. Her daughter, she laid in there for like 3 days, dead. Like, nobody
Oh
knew
my
she was."
lord.
Yeah, her dad
Wow.
her I mean, her daughter come over to check on her, and that's when they found her. So, I'm assuming maybe that's why they done. I don't know if it was a smell or why they refreshened the apartment, but they did.
Mhm.
And, yeah, that I was when she told me that, I was like, "Oh, okay." You
Wow,
know?
to be 8 years old and see a full body apparition, I mean, that's a very scary thing. Of
Yeah.
course, when I'm saying that, I think I might have been around 8 years old when I seen a full body figure standing at the foot of my bed that looked like Jesus. But I didn't for some reason, I didn't connect that with, like, ghost or, like, what we would consider, like, ghost hunting. I thought it was, like, a special one-time moment that, like, things like that don't exist, you know, like spirits and stuff like I didn't believe in ghosts until, like, about almost 15 years ago. I just thought that was a special one-time, once in a lifetime thing that I seen God at the foot of my bed looking at me, and he dissipated too. That was crazy. Is I remember locking eyes, looking, and then he just dissipated, and it was gone, and it sticks with me to this day. But after that, when I would hear people tell ghost stories and stuff, I remember I would always just kind of be like, yeah, right. Sure, sure. Oh, yeah, the woman in white, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody's seen this woman in white, and I'd never seen it. And you know what? I was never looking for it. So I found it later on because I went looking for it one day with Alicia, and we were using the voice recorders, and we documented something that was unexplainable, but it was 100% a real documentation. Like I didn't believe people could go somewhere with the recorder, hit record, and capture voices. That sounded absurd to me. And then when I did it, I was just like, oh my God, look how I walked around almost my whole life thinking that we're the only thing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was life changing.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't so after I had initially found out about that,
Mhm.
so my great grandma, she died not long after that. I would say maybe a year or so. I mean, we lived there for a good while. And she passed away, and I always hated it in that apartment. It was just always so it's like a heavy like sadness. Like it was bad. And plus my mom was like going through a rough time, and so that I think that just fueled it. And
Right.
so uh it was one night though in my dream. I was dreaming, and the older lady, I guess, like I said, when I saw the apparition, I didn't see detail of what she looked like. I knew it was an older lady, but in this dream I saw her, and like she was mad. Like she was mad at me. She was attacking me in the
Oh
dream.
man.
Um and when she started blowing on the back of my neck, and it was just like cold, ice cold, and I'll never forget it. And then it was like out of nowhere, my great grandma comes in and starts beating her with. She was like, "You better just beat her." And then it was like after that, nothing really ever happened again.
Hmm.
But see, my great grandma, I found out later in life that she actually had psychic like abilities. Um,
Wow.
she didn't she didn't research into it or look into it, but she did have a vision of a big fireball coming down out of the sky and hitting my uncle's trailer.
Hmm.
Well, it was like 2 weeks after that, he had an aneurysm that crippled him for the rest of his life. Like he's paralyzed for the
I'm
rest of
sorry
his
to
life.
hear that.
Yeah. So, but like, she was like, I felt like something was going to happen to him really bad
Right.
from seeing that, because she was fully awake, like she wasn't asleep. She just saw that and was like, "Oh wow!" And she told my grandmother about it, and yeah, that's what happened. So I don't know.
It makes you wonder if she carried her psychic ability with her to the other side, and in that dream she was having your back at that moment, and
Mhm.
that's pretty powerful stuff. I do believe in psychic abilities, empathic abilities. I think that we all have a little empathicness in us. The people that choose to exercise it probably become really good at using it. A lot of people, they probably like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's just coincidence, it's
Yeah.
explainable. But I'm a firm believer that everybody has that, but there's just some people that pay so much attention to it. They through they try and use it, and over time they develop it. It's a skill, and they just get real. I'm really good at reading people, and 90% of the time I'm right. And you can ask anybody that knows me, anybody in my circle, they'll be like, dude, I can't believe how quick you call shit. It's just crazy. um so I believe that people do have that, and some people are really good with it. I've had people tell me things that I've never met before, like so and so is gonna happen, or this person, and they go down to a T, and I'm like, well, like you just
Yeah.
named everything about my Uncle Gary, and you have no idea who Uncle Gary is. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's obviously it's a real thing. But after that, like throughout your life, did you see anything else like that ever again, like with the full body apparitions?
No. After that, I mean, I don't know, because I was like, my mom, like we lived there for a little bit, but my dad, he was moving around a lot. There was a lot of like family stuff going on. So it was like I had my mind so wrapped up in, what's going to happen next, or, that I just kind of pushed all that to the side. But
Yeah.
um I've always loved the paranormal, but I have not had any experiences up until um the house that I'm living in right now. Actually, my grandpa owned it, and I was living here with him when he was sick, trying to, help take care of him and stuff. And me and him was like really close. And so he passed away. Unfortunately, I found him, and anyways, it was maybe a week after he passed away, there was things happening in the house, and I was like, "Oh, wow," I was actually taking a nap, and something, like, jerked my foot, and I was like, it woke me up, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I just felt
Dang.
like it was him, because he would do stuff like that. He
Yeah.
just liked to joke around. And then there's been instances where I have these little seashell, like, little decoration thing on my, in my bathroom on the toilet, and it got swiped off. Like, I heard a big crash. I went in there, and it was like all of it had been pushed in the floor. I've
Dang.
had pictures flip off. I had a picture, actually, of John and my oldest when he was a baby. It was sitting on the piano, and I heard something flip in the living room. I went in there. That picture just went in the floor, and I was like, "Okay, like, what you trying to tell me? Like, you just trying to let me know you're here or what?" But
And has this been continuous? Like, like after those experiences, has this been something that's just kept going on all these years?
well, yeah, I mean, I haven't had anything happen in a long time, but I'll tell you, um, when I started dabbling in going up here to this cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing some spirit boxes and everything, I found on my spirit box, the name David came up, and I was like, "Oh," so I was gonna look around the cemetery for a David, but I looked down and there was the David. Like, I got it on video, and I
That
was like,
is
"Wow,
that is
okay."
awesome, dude. Wow.
So
What a
after
find.
that, trippy things was happening here, and I was like, "Okay, is it my grandpa or is it somebody, a traveler I picked up?" Never did really try to figure that out. I know my mom come in to visit, and I've had the magnet flip off my refrigerator right beside it. Like, she was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "You don't believe in the paranormal, but I'm telling you, And I've
Right.
seen orbs. I've seen an orb fly. Like, it's off and on, but it's not like intense. It has its moments.
There's too much to ignore. Like over time, you've seen enough to say, well, there's something that happens here. There's something going on. It's
Mhm.
unexplainable. There's too much of it for it to be coincidental. Like, but I believe it to be paranormal, and most likely, why wouldn't it be your grandfather? It would only make sense. You were taking care of him. Maybe he's staying around. He's taking care,
Yeah,
looking after you, and seeing your beautiful family, grow together,
yeah.
which is an awesome thing. I think our grandparents do that. Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it 100%. And I'll tell you, I know I think I sent pictures to Alicia or I had texted her, but when we were up here, renovating the attic, we were
Hmm.
pulling up the old floor and we found so much stuff. And I was looking through it and it was like letters from a soldier. So somebody had lived here before my grandpa bought the house. So
Oh
he
Lord.
got it. I want to say he was like, let's see, 62, 1962 is when he got this house, okay? Somebody
Hmm.
lived here before that because I think this house was built in the 30s. And
Wow. World War II.
yeah, letters
Yeah.
from a soldier and like pictures and stuff and old toys, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, like what is this?"
Mhm.
But I talked to my aunt about it, and supposedly he had put that floor down that we took up, but he just left. I don't know. He just left stuff up here in the attic and just put a floor on top of it. And I was like, wow, you know? So I'm surprised nothing has actually been happening since we've been renovating the
Right.
house, like activity and stuff.
Yeah, I've always noticed like how crazy things seem to get when you go into a place that's already haunted, you believe to be haunted, and then like you move some stuff or do some painting. It does seem like it stirs things up. I know with Dean's Haunted Mansion, no matter what it is, if I go over there and change a light bulb, it seems like I don't want to say it angers something, but it definitely initiates something to like don't mess with the house. And the crazy thing about that is like I feel that right then and there, but I never feel like they're unhappy with what I've done there. That's so weird. It does not make sense when you say it out loud. But in other words, like I remember going over there and painting this room. And when I started painting this room, I started seeing all kinds of crazy, some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen in the paranormal, and hearing things and feeling things. And then after, like a few days after, I came back to that same room and the energy was almost like, okay, this isn't bad. Like I literally felt that. Like almost like the spirits gave me this feeling to say, like, we approve. We feel the passion, we feel the love of what you're doing. Um, but I think in real life, people are scared of change. So it makes sense. I mean, how different would we change when we go to the other side other than it's harder for people to hear us, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Um, and I tell you, I don't so I watched Zach Bagan's documentary about Demon House, okay?
Mm,
Grandpa, he hated that stuff, okay? Was not about it, was not about it. And so anyways, I had watched it. The kids were asleep. I was up by myself, which made it even worse. But after I had got done watching it, I heard this humongous bang in the kitchen.
ooh,
So I get up, I go in the kitchen, and I had like this antique jar, and I had it filled with like red food coloring water. And it was just to go with the theme because I did have like a red theme going on. And it had come off of the top. I have this shelf above my sink. It had come off of it and it had fell in front of my china cabinet, which is a little bit of ways. I don't know exactly how many feet, but it had fallen there, busted, and there was like red water going everywhere. I was like, oh my god!
yeah, that would
I
be
was
pretty
like,
trippy. I use
it
red
was.
food coloring to make, blood for my movie. So I can tell you sometimes I can take the red food coloring, just add it to Kiro syrup, and it almost feels like I could not add anything else. Like you've just made blood there. So depending on what lighting you see that in, that could definitely be freaky.
It was so freaky, and I was like, okay, I don't know why that happened. I never did figure that out. I was like, maybe my grandpa was like, no, like, just I don't know. It was weird, man.
I believe I believe that we do things and they see things and probably as people that care about us, it still would anger them. I know my mom is not going to stop caring when she becomes a spirit. If anything, she's probably going to be even more pissed because she's going to be in every room that I wouldn't usually want her to be and seeing what mistakes
Oh,
I'm making. Um but I think it's funny too, is not only like is there that good side of it, like their good intentions, but like sometimes I think people think that those signs and those things they do, those warnings are like, I think some people that don't understand it maybe as much as you and I, like I feel like we feel like, I don't think anybody's an expert, but I feel like we understand it enough to say like, to make a great observation of it. I think a lot of people that don't understand it probably see any little sign, any little minute thing and think, "Oh, it's evil, it's darkness," which I mean, I don't believe that's the case, man. You can't be a positive, good, loving family like you guys are, like we are, and say that you live in a house full of darkness,
no way. There's
you
no
know?
way. And plus my grandpa, um, he loved to paint. Okay. He liked to watch Bob Ross. He learned all of his painting skills
Bob
from his
Ross.
man. Yes, Bob Ross. And he painted crosses in his bedroom. He painted 3 crosses on the hill. And I just feel like, he has wrote Bible scriptures in the basement on the walls. It's so hard to cover that up, man. I just can't do it. But he painted the scriptures and just painted beautiful
Mhm.
art, like scenery, trees, flowers, and everything. So I don't know. And he was really dedicated to God, like in his last little time. I mean, he was a very godly man. So I just feel like this house is pretty protected. Plus, we're always happy, and even the little things I have did, like there's
Yeah.
nothing demonic.
Right. Yeah, I know. Some people over the years, supporters, they'll write me and they'll tell me about a situation, and I can see how frantic and how panicked they are. And I'm like, what makes you think that's bad? Like, oh, I keep seeing something, look at me when I'm laying in bed at night. I'm like, well, did you happen to lose a mom, a brother, a sister, a family member? Yes, I lost my father. And I was like, well, was he really protective of you? Oh, God, yes. And I'm like, do you think he could be looking over you? Like, I mean,
Yes.
there's a good chance, right? I think that it's so easy to turn to negative because it's so easily accessible in today's world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'll say, so when me and you did the Madison Dry Goods, I had told you in the video that, everything I do as far as like when I start reading about the Lawson family, or like doing anything like going to the dry goods videoing, and then I went to the cemetery where they're buried, and that was just, I wasn't even investigating, stuff was
Mhm.
happening. But um that night when I had came back home, uh I was sitting in the bedroom I'm in now that has the three crosses. I
Mhm.
was sitting right in front of that wall, and I was sitting there and I was just editing. And my Jensen, my other son, he's a witness. He was sitting there watching me edit and watching me put it all together, and we heard just knock, knock, knock right behind my head
Oh,
on the wall.
man.
And I was
Wow.
like, no, no. I was like, no, what is that? There's some. Now I will say that story right there with
Mhm.
him and everything, that's dark. Like that is dark, and you can
It's
feel that.
definitely dark. Um, we did that investigation more recently together, but you've been investigating that on and off for quite a while. It's a easily accessible place. You know that you're gonna pick up something probably 90% of the time. Um, when you and I were doing that investigation, there was something about a dark room there, and it wasn't even a part of the rest of the museum. It was like the storage area. And for
Mhm.
some reason, there was like little sounds and feelings in like just airways just like pouring through there. And it's like I'm looking around, I'm like, where the heck is air coming from? It just seemed like there was something there. It makes me wonder if there's like an item there or something, that maybe belonged to the Lawson family or that's not being displayed.
It could be because Smitty gets a lot of stuff. He
Mhm.
people donate stuff all the time. Um he's been donated some of the stuff dealing with the Lawson family. I mean, most of it is in the museum part. Now, I don't know if he's got more stuff, because it looks like when you look in there, he's constantly putting more and more and more and more as he goes. And I think
Right.
eventually they do, like the third floor part where we couldn't go up. He is trying to do something with that up there too.
Ooh, wow.
So I can't wait till he gets gathers something. There was talk that he wanted to actually like almost recreate their house or
Hmm.
something. I had heard something
Jeez.
like, now I don't know, don't take me on there, but I had heard it. So that would be like really cool if he did that.
Well, let me ask you this question real quick. And maybe you could just give people like a quick synopsis of what Charlie Lawson and that whole story. But do you think, before you do that, do you think that now I've been there and I can say that I didn't feel any evil presences, but I do believe sometimes that, let me say this, if there was anything left of the Lawson family, it's mainly right there. Do you believe if there was a spot that would be a magnet to I don't want to say summon. That feels like a dirty word. I don't think that, I know that's not what the museum is doing. But by having all those objects there, do you think that that's like enough to like possibly bring the spirits of the Lawsons there?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, that's where they were brought to prepare them and stuff. Plus all of the memorabilia. And then some country singer, I want to say they were the Carolina Boys. That's what I want to say. They made a ballad. They made a whole song just dedicated to Charlie Lawson and what he did. And it's like it has to be. Like,
Right.
they have to be there because part of them is there. I mean, that dress, what Marie, her name's not Maria, Marie was wearing. Um, it's just Yeah, for sure.
Tell people that might not know about this story what he did.
So, okay, so to give a backstory on Charlie, Charlie was a farmer, and supposedly, he got in a really kind of a bad accident with, I think it was either an axe or it was something, but he got hit right here, and
Mhm.
that's the frontal lobe. That's where we make our decisions and everything. He got damaged there pretty bad, and so after that, I don't know if it was the pain from his, maybe he was having headaches, but he started drinking, and he started getting more violent. People actually noted that after that had happened, he changed significantly in his attitude. He was more aggressive and everything. Um, and there was a theory going around that he had gotten his older daughter pregnant. There was no proof of that, but people were speculating that even during that time. And
Right.
so they don't know if that's what pushed him to be like, no, she can't, like, this can't happen. But on Christmas Day, he just woke up and decided to just massacre his whole family. Marie got up, made a raisin cake, and I guess his wife was probably up doing what she usually did.
Mhm.
He sent Arthur, he told his oldest son Arthur they were going to go hunting that day.
Right.
And he sent him to town to get some bullets. And while he was gone, he loaded up the shotgun and he got the baby, Marie, the wife, and then there was his little boys, Raymond and William. He got them too. He shot all them first. These other two daughters were actually on their way to their aunt's house. And my stepmom, I don't know, somehow I think she said she's not related to the Lawsons by blood, but her great aunt is the one they were going to see.
Oh my.
So it's insane. So they were headed that way. Charlie went down and followed their tracks, and he shot them and then pulled them into the barn, and that's where he laid them. And then he went out to the tree line, circled a tree several times, and finally he shot himself, but he left a note. Now I can't remember what the note said, but yeah, I mean, it was just family annihilator even then. So
That's man, that's heavy duty stuff. And whenever I heard that and then I was seeing all that memorabilia there and all that stuff, I was just like, man, I bet this is some kind of magnet. Now, would it be bringing him there, his family there? I don't know, but I would say this. I mean, there's no way for us to know, I guess, but I feel like there's a damn good chance that the Lawsons are hanging out there.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, the previous owner, Richard, that I had
mhm.
told you about, I told you that story where he had someone come in and said, "Hey, is your grandkids here?" And he's like, "No, I'm just the only one here." But they saw
Right.
a kid in the window. Yeah. And he said there's a child there. Like, there's a lot of people that has seen a child there. And then Brandy, the psychic medium, when she spent her time there, now she um, had quite the experience, but she sensed Charlie or some kind of, presence there. But I don't know. But so many people have come through there. Me and you talked about that, was where it was
Yeah.
a funeral home. There's so many people that's passed through there. So it can't
Right.
just be the Lawson family. I mean, there's got to be more people, plus all of the
Agree.
antiques. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, just the town in general, very historic town, lots of history there, memories there, workers there. I mean, there might be somebody coming to work every day there that died 50 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
but I definitely think, we're talking about this right now, things being like a magnet. And again, I hate to use the word summoning, but your grandfather's paintings and in your home. Um, there's little things I know at the mansion. I have found at Dean's Haunted Mansion. I have found old like letters and journal stuff and pictures and writings on the wall in the weirdest places. And and these things definitely do act as like a catalyst, I think, you know. And I guess the way we know is when we try and alter something about the structure or move something, shit happens.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, I'm never gonna cover up his paintings,
Right.
because
I'm
yeah,
sure
but I
they're
mean,
great anyway. Like
oh,
you
they're
know, that's so
beautiful
cool to
anyway.
have.
Yeah, not a lot of people can. I mean, he put a lot of energy into that. When I tell you, every time I'd go in the base, there he was. He was just painting away, and
Mm.
that was something he really enjoyed. So yeah, I know it's a lot, but
Have you ever had besides you know, the presence of maybe your grandfather or things that you might be aware of, have you ever felt like maybe leaving a cemetery or a haunted place that something's following you along? Can you feel that, like, walking away, in the car ride home, going forward, like, the next few days?
yeah, I felt that way about Browder Home Cemetery where the Lawson family was buried, and then this cemetery up here from my house, man. There is something going on up there. I had a lot of things happening at one point, and I couldn't figure out, where it was coming from. But I will tell you, I was sitting on my bed one day, and I was just on the computer, and all of a sudden it was like burning down my neck. And I took a picture of it and I documented it. But there was 3 scratches down my neck, and they just welled up so big, and it was just burning. I was like, "What is that from?" Because I hadn't been doing anything,
Yeah.
didn't even have a necklace on. So I was like, where would that have came from? It was so weird, and I don't know if it's just, I have not been back to that cemetery. I'll just tell you that because it's
Yeah.
just
I remember you telling me you really wanted me to go there, and I think we ran out of time and we weren't able to do it, because we went there to film the scene, and we got lucky that we got to hang out and do a few other things, which was really cool. We had such a good time. But this cemetery, you have told me about it throughout the years now, and I definitely I do want to get there at some point. Have you ever been there at night?
no. No, I've only
Mm,
been during the day, and it was when my kids were actually still in school, and I, I hadn't been long had Liam. So he was just a little tiny little thing, and I was going in that that cemetery. Now the time that I got David across the spirit thing, I had all 3 of my kids there, and they were like, "You know what?" And I was like, "I don't know."
yeah.
David was really wanting to be heard, for sure. So,
I
I don't
think
know.
when they hear themselves once, man, they it starts a frenzy to where I've noticed so many times before, like depending on where I go, I can turn on a spirit box, especially like the hardware type spirit boxes. I don't know why those are like so powerful, but like I can take like a PSB 7 spirit box, go to the playground by the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and I can hear the same voices over and over and over for several moments. And that's, see, the cool thing about the spirit talker is you get nice clear responses, and there's so many words they can put together there, right? But the cool thing about the PSB 7 spirit box is you can actually hear that spirit's voice in real time. And the only thing that kind of sucks about it is there's so much white noise, and when you listen to that for so long, it kind of gives you a little bit of a headache. But on the flip side, there's been times where Alicia and I have sat down at like a picnic table there, turned on that spirit box, and we will hear like, "What's your name?" And we'll hear, I've heard the name David there, David. And then like a few moments later, "Help me." And it's like the same voice. And it gets to a point where it's like, whoa, we really got something. Because if you hear something once, you know, you could, there's like little room for error. Could it be, I don't know, maybe we heard a radio DJ cross this frequency, or, you know, somebody's like police radio, maybe, like, you know, but when you keep hearing them and they're almost like direct responses, direct communication, that's when it's like, oh shit, this is
Oh,
real.
yeah.
We got something here.
Oh, yeah, it gets real, real
Yeah.
fast, real fast. And, I know what you mean, like, because I've been listening into, like, all of that white noise, and it kind of gets disorienting a little bit.
Mhm.
You're just like, because sometimes you can start hearing things, and you're just, it's not even, it's just crazy. I mean, after you hear it for a little bit of time, but when you hear the same tone, the same voice coming through, and like you said, and it's answering,
Mhm.
it's, it gets crazy. Yeah.
That's where it definitely gets compelling, and I love that. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's an incredible thing. Like if you've been doing this for a while, you pick up all these little things that you look for and mean the most to you. And I'm kind of at that point right now, like where I love where something happens multiple times and it feels either like the same energy or sounds like the same voice, you know,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
it's like, what else do you want, guys? This is
I
paranormal
know.
here. Come on.
I know. I know.
People still try and
And
debunk this shit. It's like, what the hell?
oh my gosh. I know. And I was like, when we were at the dry goods, and I'm telling you, there was like something, there was an energy there, because I kept almost like losing my breath. Like I kept bending over. I was just like, I cannot catch my breath. Like that is
Yeah.
something was going on. And I got chicken skin from it. I was like, what is going on? And then the lights, I don't know if all of us in there, and then maybe the kids and their energy, like that was wild. I've never had that happen.
It was a really great experience. And whenever I pulled up in front of the place and I was waiting for you to arrive there, I'm like, I always can look at a place and I just get a vibe like right away, like what it's gonna be like. And I was like, I feel like today's gonna be a special day. I just had this vibe. And here's what did it for me. I don't even know if I think maybe I did talk about it, but we were sitting down there I was getting a cup of coffee. I think our kids were mingling, and I went to the restroom, and I go to the restroom and I seen this picture on the wall, and it was a woman, and I was like, "How you doing there, ma'am?" And pretty woman, and I'm using the restroom, and all of a sudden, I heard this woman's voice say something to me, and it almost sounded like, "Well, I'm doing good, sir." I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, bro, I freaked out. I think I pissed on myself. Like, I'm like, like one of those type deals. And I was like, did that just really freaking happen? And I had to stand there for a second and be like, was somebody upstairs talking? Was somebody outside this door? And whenever I opened up the door, I kind of looked like this real quick, and there was nobody there. And I was like, what the hell? And that just set the tone right there, because I was like, okay, something's gonna happen. And yeah, we got up there and we were hearing stuff. Yes, the lights were flickering. You know what really was cool for me out of that is you've been a awesome supporter of me and many channels over the years, because you're into the same field. You do this. You got Sam's Pretty Paranormal on YouTube. Great channel, guys. Go check it out. But what was really cool is you've been supporting for a long time, and you got to see how I work in real time. You got to see, like, there's no studios, there's no sets. We did this real time. We had stuff. We documented stuff together. And I love that, because I think that there is so much entertainment on YouTube that people forget there's still a lot of real shit on YouTube, and we fucking documented a lot. Our families were standing down the hallway looking in the antique store,
Yeah.
and like they were coming out every once in a while. I'm like, did you guys just see that? Did you hear that? And I'm like, this
I
place
know
is a freaking honey hole.
Alicia would come to the door, and she'd be like, she'd be giving me that look, and I'm like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, stuff was, the gate, open the gate, the latch.
Ooh,
She
yeah.
said it just, yeah, my kids, they told me, they said that thing just come open, like she was just standing there. It was like, what the heck?
You know what was compelling to me? I've been in so many places where the lights will start doing something, and sometimes, I'll share that information with somebody, and they'll be like, "Oh, somebody was flicking the lights," or "Oh, they were having a power outage," or something like that. We're standing in this room. I see these lights flickering, and I look around, and I'm like, "Did somebody just do that? Is somebody messing with us?" Walk over to this wall, and I see the switch, and I go to touch it, but I can't touch it. They had a device built over it so nobody could touch the switch. because supposedly that's something the spirits just like to do there.
Yeah.
Fucking
That's
crazy.
that's what I took from that, because we both filmed it. We both looked at, like,
Right.
look, you can't do it. There was no switch out in the hallway for any of the kids to like play around or not. There
Yeah.
nothing. There's no way. There's no way to do that. And then, like, when I went to this book signing for
Mhm.
Brandy and the author Brian, they were both there, and oh, I was in my element. Like, I love that place. Like, if I could be there every day, I would. Um, but I was checking out, and Smitty was like, "You ought to come to the ghost hunt. We're gonna have one tonight. Like, everybody's gonna get to sit with Brandy, like do a full investigation." And I was like, "Crap!" I was like, "Well, I would love to come," and I was like, "But I can't,
Mhm.
because I didn't have anybody to watch the kids." And as soon as I said I can't, the light above Smitty was flickering like crazy, and he was like,
Dang.
"Oh," he was like, "I think something is saying otherwise. I think something really wants you to come back." And I
You
was
better
like,
get your ass down there, girl.
uh, I was like, they might want me to come, but I can't, unfortunately. But yeah, um, yeah, that whole place, there's a bond there. There's a
Or
connection
something.
there. There's
Yeah.
something there. I just love it. And the story of Charlie Lawson is so consuming. Like, you could just keep going with it and keep on going with it. And it's just, I don't know what it is about that thing.
You know what I think's freaking crazy, and I might just use it in the title of this video. The title of this video might be "Her imaginary friend got hit by a car."
Oh my God.
Her
I don't
imaginary
know.
friend got killed by a car. What a
Yes.
title for a video! But I've always heard of that. I did not have an imaginary friend as a kid,
Hmm.
but I had such a quite. I had such an imagination that I never had a boring moment, and
Yeah.
but I've heard of this. I've heard of people saying this, but that's just crazy that one day your imaginary friend just got hit by a car. It was gone.
And there was a house that wasn't far from where we lived, and I can still, I mean, I know exactly where it's at. It's been remodeled, renovated since then, but back then, before somebody had gotten a hold of it, it was just kind of run down. But that was her house. I told my dad,
Mm,
I was like, that's her house. That's Chastity's house. I always looked up that driveway to that house when we would ride by. I was like, that's her house. So that was another interesting thing to that story. I don't know. I wished I could, like, maybe remember what she looked like,
right.
but it was very intense friendship. I can tell you that.
I noticed in the area specifically you live in, I seen a lot of places that just radiated like this paranormal energy again. Like I can see a place and like I just usually most of the time I'm right, but like we were just driving around and I would see place after place and I'd be like, man, there's something heavy there. And Alicia would be like, why would you say that? Like, I don't know. I've been doing this a long time and I feel something, not just because it's creepy. Like, just I've driven by 100 creepy places and I'm not like, oh, it's haunted. Like, there's just something that grabs you, but you have a lot of that in your area. And turns out there's like a lot of history around there. It's not just the Lawson family. Like, there's so much
No.
stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of history. And matter of fact, my grandma lives across the road from her old house that she was born and raised in as a child.
Mhm.
And I get when I go see my dad, I get to ride by that house every time. And oh my gosh. So my great grandpa didn't get to meet him, unfortunately, because when my grandma was like 10 years old, he was just going through a lot mentally, and he's another one that I've always been so interested in, so connected in. Like, I'm always asking questions about him, and sometimes my dad or my grandma will be like, why do you want to know about this? Why do you want to know about him so bad? He wasn't this nice guy. And I was like,
Mm.
no, what you don't understand it, like, he may have not have been a nice guy, but there was something there,
Mhm.
something was bothering him. he was in a lot of pain from an injury he had. He had surgery. It wasn't going well. I mean, he had a lot going on. And
Yeah.
he shot himself in the
Yeah.
house while my grandma, her mom, and her sister and brother were all out in the fields, doing their thing. And yeah, my great grandma had to come back and see that. And the other weird thing was, when they came to collect him, you know, they
Mhm.
were going to take the brain matter, and they were gonna burn it. What else are you gonna do with it? But my grandma was like, no, no, you're not
What?
touching my dad. Like, no. Yeah, she wouldn't let them burn it. She took the bucket. She took all of the bloody rags they were trying to clean it up with. She took that whole thing. She took off running across the yard, went out in the field, dug a hole, and was like, You're not taking my dad." She
Mm.
buried all of that in the ground. And I was like,
Good for her.
"What?" I mean,
Yeah,
that was
I
crazy.
get it. I mean, they really did things differently back in the day, and a lot of people had no choice. Now they've got so many sophisticated things. You can have your loved one hydro buried at sea, which is like the craziest thing in the world, or get this, okay? You can put your husband's ashes in a vibrator. Um, people are getting their loved
Like,
ones' ashes
what?
tattooed into them now. Like there is so many like creative, like you and I, like we might hear this the first time I ever heard it, I'm like, that's creepy as shit. But then I'm like, well, hey, more power to her or more power
Yeah,
to him, like, hey, that's unique. But back in the day, man, like you just had to do what you had to do. And at least she felt like she had him nearby, I guess,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, she even though all of the things that he did, and she knew he wasn't, the greatest or whatever, but she loved that man to death. And you can there's an energy there to that house. Now somebody has bought that that old house and is using it as like a storage thing, and I'm like, God, now I can't access it. I mean, he might would let me, but with his personal property in there, probably not. But yeah, there it's that is another sad story that I feel so like, why I want to know more about him. I just want to know more about him, and I
Yeah.
can't, because my great grandma, that's the same great grandma that come to me and protected me in the dream. So
Right.
it's it's sad.
It is. The one thing that always brings me peace and maybe not complete peace, but one thing that I'm so positive about everything, and I tell people, that believe in the paranormal, that watch it and they lose a loved one and they come to me. I'm just saying, remember what we believe in. If you truly do believe in this, I mean, not even in the paranormal ghost hunter aspect, do we pray to God? Do we feel like he listens? I do, 100%. Still talk to your loved ones, still know they're there. If they love you and you guys were close in real life, why would they be anywhere else if they are here? If they didn't go to the light when they died and they're going to stay here until judgment day or whatever, why would they go anywhere else?
Exactly.
And just find some kind of comfort in knowing. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's going to be sad. I can't talk to them no more." I'm like, "Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You talk to them every chance you get, when you're in the car by yourself, when you're in the bathroom, when you're cooking dinner. Like, say, hey, grandpa,
Mhm.
I miss you. I hope you're okay." And you'd be surprised that sometimes you feel an energy answering you back, not a voice, but just a feeling. Like sometimes when I pray, I can honestly 110% say, I can tell God's listening.
Oh, I've been there. I have had
Yeah,
that experience so really intense
it's
experience.
beautiful.
Not too long ago, about a month or so, I I've told my mom about it. I
Mhm.
usually I haven't even really told John about it. I don't typically tell anybody when I have a little, spell of I gotta cry and get it out. It was a tough time, tough little period where I was just overwhelmed with the kids. I'm trying to homeschool them. I'm trying to do my school. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And one day it just like, bam, it just come to me. And I was like, I cannot do this. Like, I
Mhm.
can't do this. And I don't never let them see me cry really. So I went in the bathroom and I took a shower and I just let it all out right there in the shower. And I was like, I need you. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I kid you not, um, I just said, "Help me." And the words, I couldn't hear them, but the first words that come into my head was, "Get up. Get up."
Mm.
And I was like, "Is that like, are you okay?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll get up." So I got up, and I will tell you, in a hot shower,
Mhm.
goosebumps all, and I was like, "Oh, you're there. You're there." And
Yeah,
then I
it's
can't tell
electric.
you, it was that's exactly the way to put it. And then I felt the strength come over me, and ever since then, it's
That's
just been,
amazing. That is
yeah,
so powerful, and I have felt the same thing, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It is,
yeah,
it's so cool, and I I feel bad that a lot of people don't realize that's how easy it is. Just when you're alone, be real with yourself and the one listening, and just speak from your heart, and it's amazing. There's somebody there for you. You might not realize it. And I don't walk around preaching the Bible. I'm not in church every Sunday. I couldn't tell you probably hardly anything from the Bible. What I can tell you is I've had a relationship with God since I was a kid. I prayed to him. I believe in him. He's in my heart. And my core value to honor him is I try and be the best person that I can be,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
don't hurt people.
and yeah.
I think that's the most important thing in the world. It wouldn't make sense. God wouldn't want you to, somebody that you feel love from would not want you to go and hurt people.
Exactly, but it's really the most simplest relationship you can have. It's not as complicated as everybody. Some people's just like, you got to do this. You got no, no, you
Yeah.
don't. So,
Right.
but I'll tell you, um, so all of that land that my grandma lives on.
Hmm.
So my family comes from a line of Cherokee, so Native American, and that whole land, that's where we were always from, is that area.
All the time.
And when my uncle was little, he found so many arrowheads on that particular, it's a lot of land, but he would go out digging and he's found a lot of arrowheads. I have them in a little Altoid
Wait,
box.
hold on, hold on. I thought I heard that at first. When she said he's found so many airheads. I'm thinking about the airhead candy, and I'm like, why did you find a bunch of
Oh yeah.
airheads over here? Arrowheads, got you. Okay, all right.
Arrowhead. That's my country coming out. Airheads.
He found a bunch of airheads, Jody. There was
Even
just airheads everywhere, and
I know.
crybabies and jawbreakers. Let's just get okay. Come on.
That's so funny. But yeah, yeah, he found a lot of them. I have them in an Altoids box.
Oh,
But
very cool.
so I feel like there's a lot going on there. And uh my cousin was out there, I want to say last year. Was it last year? He was out on some property close by. He was hunting. He's been hunting since he was 16. This guy's 40
Oh
something
man.
now. And he saw two. He said he swears on his life it was Bigfoot on that
Ooh.
property. So Bigfoot's kind of like in the paranormal. I know it's like cryptid, but he saw two, and he's like, he's not been back to that to
Oh,
that
he must
area.
have seen something, yeah, because that's a hunter's
It
dream,
scared
man.
the
Can you
crap.
imagine?
He.
Snagging a Bigfoot would be like winning the lottery. It really would.
Mhm.
I mean,
But he said when like you would think, okay, he's sitting there, he's
mhm,
got a gun.
mhm,
What are you doing? But he's
right.
like, when you're in that position, you freeze. You're like,
Yeah,
what am I? You're trying to process what you're looking at. And
yeah.
he's like, I couldn't do anything but sit there and just watch the whole time until they were out of my view. And he's like, and I got out of there.
It makes so much sense, and it reminds me of something. So I did this video almost like 2 years ago, and I went to this area. not that far away, where people were always saying, "Oh, you can see a Bigfoot all the time over here." And I'm like, "All the time? If you can see it all the time, how come nobody has caught this thing?" Right? And so I go out there, my first time ever going out there, and that is my sole purpose for making this video. And I see what looks like a Bigfoot, and I'm like, "Holy shit, there's a Bigfoot." And I'm like, "This is too easy. There's something up with this." So
Oh
I
my.
get the footage, and I did the video or whatever, and I think I did my outro. All right, guys, because like I didn't see it again, and I'm like, okay, I'm going home for the day. So I'm driving out of that area, and I see this guy walking, and he's wearing a Bigfoot costume, but he's got the mask off, and he's got a beer in his hand. And and I go up, I drive up, I honked the horn and said, "Hey," and he did like some little dance. This is like 3 p.m. during the day, like whoop, like that. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's lit, right? So
Yeah.
I get out the car and I said, "Hey, I was making a video. People told me there's a Bigfoot over here, and he said I walk around in this costume all the time, fucking with people." And I said, "Oh man." I said, "Well, I'm still going home and putting this video out."
I know, right?
And I went back and I told some people that in the area, and they were like, "Are you shitting me? Like I've seen that thing so many. It looked real. It looked real." But
Right.
can you imagine? Now here's what I'm getting to with this. I did end up putting that video out, and I didn't clarify at the end of it. I just put it out like it was, just how I shot it. I go in the comment section, and everybody and their mother's like, "How come you didn't shoot that fucking thing? You should have shot that thing." I'm like, y'all trigger happy. Can you imagine, bro, if somebody would have shot it and it was just a guy walking around messing with people?
I
That
know,
would be
and
hella
you
scary.
well, yeah, and when he went back to my grandma's house, and he was like white as a ghost, man. He was scared. Um and I talked to my grandma about it on the phone, and I was like, she's like, "It's demons." I was like, "Oh God." I was like, "You can't." I was like, "Please don't do this." Please, I was like, "Please don't say that." But um I did put
Grandparents
out the
love to say
theory.
it's demons.
No, I know. And I was like, you know, it could have been people.
Yeah.
It could have been. But then my cousin was like, "Yeah, but out in the middle of freaking nowhere, like
Right.
nobody would have seen them. Nobody would have
Absolutely.
seen them." I was on. He said I was so far back in that land
Mm-hmm.
where it's quiet, because I mean, the deer are. And he had baited that place for a while trying to get them. And so he's like, "There's no way that was too big. That would be stupid. It's
Yeah.
hot, and they're in this." He said, "But one was like 7 foot, almost 8 foot. One was 6 foot. So they got to
Oh
be
my
big
Lord.
people. It's got to be big people." And my grandma also, like, in the middle of the night, she'll get this. She complains about it all the time. And I'm just like, "Put up a trail cam."
Mm.
But on the side of her house, something will just beat on the side of her house in the middle of the night.
Holy
And
shit.
she's like, "Why?" And it happens all the time. And I'm like, "It's probably Bigfoot," but I don't
Wouldn't that
know.
be some shit, man? Bigfoot knocking. It's a new
Yeah,
thing.
we're
That's what.
trying to figure that out. But she won't put the cam up, so I'm just gonna, we've got a few trail cams, so I
Yeah.
need to take them up there and set them up to see what's happening, or if it's somebody like messing with her, or if
Yeah.
it's something weird, because yeah, it's mm,
Dude, I 110% believe. I don't know if it's Bigfoot. What I believe, there's more stuff out there like that. Maybe there is Bigfoot. I'm open to it. I once upon a time didn't believe in the paranormal. Didn't find it, so I went looking for it. I think what's crazy about the big difference between the paranormal and the Bigfoot is when people go ghost hunting, they bring back evidence. Whenever it comes to the Bigfoot, 90% of the time people don't bring back evidence, and I get it because they are shocked. Even I myself had to say, well, what the well, no, keep filming, keep filming, keep filming, keep filming.
yeah,
But I believe what he's seen, your brother, you said?
my cousin.
Your cousin, I'm sorry, your cousin. what your cousin's seen, I believe that he's seen something real, because it's very highly unlikely a bunch of people are running around in costumes in this world. There's probably one nut job out of every million that says to themselves, they're sitting on the couch and they say, I'm gonna buy me a Bigfoot costume, grab me a beer, and go scare people along the highway. I'm sure there's not a lot of nuts out there doing that.
Not
But
up in the sticks, anyway. Not up in the
yeah,
kind of backwoods.
but again, the evidence thing is what's crazy. Is you hear so many people's of sightings of the Bigfoot, but there's only very few pieces of evidence that anybody's actually caught of one.
I know. It's crazy to me. It's like so many people have seen him, but nothing has been done, or
Yeah,
like Bigfoot has not like just injure him. You don't have maybe not kill him, but like
yeah,
injure him
shoot him in the
enough, like
toe.
shoot him in, yeah, like debilitate him a little bit, so you can be like, hey, and take a picture and be like,
Yeah,
I don't know what but nothing. It's so weird.
it is, and there's entire TV shows out there about Bigfoot, and they never. It's called Finding Bigfoot, and they never find Bigfoot. And I'm like, how the hell do they got like
I
2 or 3
know.
seasons? Like,
I know, it's always the same thing. They're out in the woods, they're in a tent, you hear the knocking, you hear like a scream, and they might go out
yeah,
of the tent and go, woo, scream at it, and that
it's fun. It's very
it's
interesting. I
fun.
get it. I'm happy that they
Yeah.
got their shows, but like it is weird. Like at some point you got to say like, come on, man, somebody, man, give me hardcore freaking proof. Let's cage this thing up and not keep it, but let's study it for 48 hours and release it into the wild.
Yeah, they do aliens. Like they can't
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
so get the freaking Bigfoot.
Mm. I want to do you still got a few minutes, or do you got to get off?
Oh, no, I got plenty of time.
Okay. Let's shift real quick into some filmmaker talk, because
Okay.
although I'm super stoked that I had somebody to talk the paranormal with, and who better than Sam's Pretty Paranormal, making paranormal look good.
Oh.
But let's talk about filmmaking. Now, one thing about you and I, we're great friends. Our families are great friends. We have the YouTube thing in common, but you and I have filmmaking in common. You're actually going to school for filmmaking. What made you want to do that? Is that something your entire life that you wanted to do, or is that something that you just thought at some point that would be cool?
Um, that's another interesting question. So, uh, when I was little, the old camcorders,
Yeah.
um, I would swipe that thing every chance I get, and I would film something like with toys, or even film myself and just make up a whole thing. I was almost like vlogging. It was so funny.
I love that.
Um,
Wow.
but I put it down for a little bit, and gosh, I got sidetracked. Life. Actually was gonna go into criminal justice, was actually pursuing being a district attorney, and
Ooh.
yeah, I wanted to do that so bad I could taste it. And then life shifted again. Grandpa got sick. Okay, I was like, now I need to get my CNAs. I quit criminal justice, went into that, and then didn't. That was not my cup of tea. Medical, no, not my cup of tea. Can't do that. Um, so I spent a lot of time trying to find myself again, trying to figure out, well, what am I passionate about? What is it about me? And you and Omar had the same conversation watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
I always was like, dang, like, how do they achieve doing that? Like, how are they doing that? Well,
Right.
then it was one day I had been praying about it a long time, and I was like, what do I need to do? And then the commercial GCU popped up, and I was like, oh, and I started checking them out, and I saw they had the digital film program. I had actually applied for LA film school at
Ooh.
first,
Okay.
and something about it, everything was going smooth, but something about it, I was like, I don't, this is not where I need to be. And
Mm-hmm.
then shifted to, then the GCU happened, and I've just had a great experience ever since then. But yeah, I just started getting creative. I started getting back on, like, I started a little YouTube and was just doing stories, and I just love working with the camera. Not
Yeah.
not necessarily photography, but more filming, editing,
Mhm.
and, like, putting something together and seeing it at the end and all of the magic just with, it's just it's a passion. I just love it.
I love that, and I for the 2-3 years I've known you now.
Mhm.
Man, it's been longer
It's
than that.
been a while. Yeah, it's
Three
see,
or 4 years.
it's been about 3 years because it wasn't long after, you, had made that, because you and Omar was talking about that. Y'all were like, "How many years ago did we make that music video?" I can tell you it was in 2020 because I was sitting in my nursery chair rocking Liam when that video
Oh,
come out,
okay.
and I was like, "Oh," so yeah, it was right
Oh,
after,
very
so 3
cool.
years. Yeah.
Dang. See, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. But in the time that I have known you, or how long I've seen you since you've been doing the, like really approaching the film thing, going to
Yeah.
school, I have seen you grow a lot as a filmmaker very quickly, just like this video to this video. That's when you know somebody has talent in the film world, when every time they touch something, it gets a little bit better. I have known people, and listen, some people catch it, some people don't, but naturals in the film world, they do. Each project is a major progression. And I've seen people in the past before, and I know people have been doing this 7 to 10 years faithfully, religiously, and I haven't seen much progression. In a few years span, I've seen so much from you to where I'm like, this chick's gonna be shooting major music videos one day. She's gonna be doing something big. What in the film genre, what kind of filming do you want to do, or do you see yourself doing?
That's interesting. So, I haven't really thought about it. I really like to capture in film. I don't know about like making movies.
Mhm.
Um, but I like cinematography, nature, the weddings, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing that. I could see music video, like I dabbled in that myself. I filmed
Right.
myself twice. Um, I really like doing that because when I can hear the song, I can actually see what needs to be going on. Like I see it in my head,
Yeah.
especially with music. So I could see going that way, for sure. Directing, I don't know if that's my strong suit, but being behind the camera for sure. Like
Yeah.
do what what a director tells me, I could do that. So
Yeah.
probably cinematographer,
Right.
but yeah, I've never
Which is
really
a
like thought about it.
huge thing. I the way I love to describe that with me, um, is I love to tell stories with the lens. And
Mhm.
that means with every single frame, every single shot, I make sure that something dynamic is captured, a hint of emotion, a hint of sad, mad, happy, focusing on something that means something. Every single shot is very thought of, but I do move very quick. Like I've gotten to the point to where I know what I want so much that like I walk in and like usually I nail it right away. Like I
Oh
know with this
yeah,
second movie, I don't think I spent more than a minute getting any shot. And when I watched the movie, I'm just like, dude, my cinematography is really fucking good to where
it
I'll tell you
is.
this. I went and seen The Strangers this last Friday night,
Ooh.
and very good movie. Loved it. On a scale of 1 to 10, being a studio film, it's definitely up there, 8, 9, 10 range, something like that. And it should be. They spent a lot of fucking money making it, had some top-notch actors in it,
Yeah.
great cast. But I'm watching the movie, And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, dude, I could have shot this. Like a lot of shots they were doing are like shots like I know how to execute perfectly. I've tried. I like I'm sitting there watching it and I'm just like, bro, this is nothing I couldn't do. And I didn't
Yeah.
say this out loud. My oldest son Anthony looks over at me and he was like, dude, he's like, that's your filming style. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like,
Wow.
that it just kind of blew my mind that I'm sitting there thinking about that. And I even thought to myself, nobody else in here is thinking about something like that. I'm the only person in here thinking like that. And he
Yeah.
said that. And I thought that was powerful, but great movie. Um, I think I could definitely see you being the girl behind the camera on
Yeah.
any kind of
I
project.
I feel like I'm more like the behind the scenes work. Like that's what I see myself could be
Mm,
doing. But I'm the same way. Like I can watch a movie and it's like I see what they do and I'm like, I know how they did that, and it's
mhm,
like or sometimes I'll watch it and I'll be like, man, they could have added that in there. That
right.
would have been interesting. But yeah, I've done that a lot.
There's sometimes I see things and the only difference between what I can do and what they're doing is maybe they're using $100,000 camera set up.
Yeah.
They've got a $50,000 camera rigged out with $50,000 worth of perks, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
maybe you got this, or you got one of those expensive $1,000 lights, like a single light goes for $1,000. I'm like, the wand lights do the same fucking thing. Um,
Exactly.
but there's like when I look at the little things, I'm just like, the only difference between what we're doing and what you're doing is we're indie in your studio,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
but yeah, no, I've noticed a major just going up with what you're doing in production and shots and the way you're putting it together. And something I, as a friend, would love to see you proceed with more is acting. I
Wow.
think I think that you definitely have something there. And I sometimes I think like you look at somebody and you say they got the look, they could do this. But it's not that. You do have a good look. But I think that you actually have some skill there. And I seen it in a music video, and I told Alicia, I was like, dude, she can do some shit, but I don't even know that she knows that.
No, I have never been one that has like I don't have a big confidence, okay? I don't have I don't know, like oh, I can do that. And even when I was doing dabbling in those couple of videos I made where I was like with God's country, I wasn't showing much emotion in that, but I was just, it wasn't much emotion to go with. But with the Morgan Wallen song, I mean, that's like an emotional song, that's
Mm-hmm.
like that's the last night. Like, what do you do? And you're in a relationship, so that
You
you can
knew
kind
what
of
look
bring
to
that out.
give for that those words, that melody, that part of that song. You knew what to give. And I think that's what spoke to me as somebody that's like, okay, well, if I was directing you, I would have told you to do that same look. Maybe my shot would have been different, but like I would have told you
Yeah.
like that's what I want. So when I seen that, I was like, well, she knows something, but I'm not sure she's aware of it. And that's where I see stuff in people they don't even see in their own selves. Like my friend Krista, I told her when her first time ever acting, being in a movie, was Mallet 2. And she was a little bit nervous. She was like on the fence, like she didn't know what to expect. And
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, I see it. You got this. And it was everything I knew it would be. And the same thing with you. Like there was this part where John told you, he was like, I'm gonna go get something out of my truck. And and you're like, okay.
Okay.
And the way that you did the fucking perky little look was the same way in my head that I had hoped that you would do it. But the funny thing is, we were a little pressed on time. We were
Yeah.
dealing with mosquitoes. We were dealing with ambience. I didn't even tell you to do it that way. I told you what to do, what to say, and I kind of gave you a little like say it like this, but I didn't do it exactly the way that I seen it. And I hate myself for that sometimes, but sometimes we can write something, but when we get to set, something's going to change because we never know what we're going to face the day of.
Yeah. Well, like when you told me to do that, I was just thinking it's got to be flirty. We're on a date. It
Yes.
has to be like not you're just not going to say, "All right," you're excited like, "Oh,
The
okay."
flick you threw into it was like what sold it like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
That little flick there. I said to Alicia, I
Right.
said, watch this real quick. And I put it on a little loop on that part, and you were going, okay.
Oh my
It was so
god.
funny. No,
That's
but it was so funny.
yeah.
It was so good though. Like,
Yeah.
and that was just little shit. But I hope you do. I hope that maybe like whether it's through me or in your own projects, like you'll continue to be a part of stuff in acting. Cause I mean, you're still very young. I mean, you know, you take good care of yourself. I mean, you could really have a great acting career on the side. It could be a little something.
Yeah, it would be fun. I just
Yeah.
don't I've never like I'm just I would have to be one that would have to stand in front of a mirror and know exactly how to make an expression because I mean sometimes I can be like my mom, me and her will be talking and my expression will just change a little bit and she's like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" I'm like, "Wait, what like what?" I don't have control of my so it's like I don't know. So I don't have I've never been I've never thought I've had the look to be, an actress, but it
Well,
is
it's
fun.
funny. Sometimes we don't know. You know, there's things about us that we don't know. Like I keep finding things out about myself that, like, I just realized I was sitting there talking to you just a little bit ago, and I'm like, man, I really love this podcasting thing. This is so much fun because this is what we do. The only difference is now we're sharing it with the world. Like we have these crazy talks, these fun talks when we all get together.
Yeah.
And this is it's really like is like kind of life changing because you can take these into so many different directions. There's a lot of people that don't have your experience, mine, and by them seeing how we would handle these situations with the spirits and with filming and everything,
Mhm.
it's like we're doing more than just sitting here having fun. We're helping somebody in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah, I love that part. And, like, even with my videos, I've had several people, like, reach out, and they were like, "Oh, I love that." Like, I got one lady, she loves my cooking videos. She's like, "You gotta do another one. I love that country cooking." I was like, "Okay."
I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
Sam doing some country cooking. I can see her in there making some cobbler, some peach
Oh, yeah,
cobbler.
man. Egg pies, name it.
Me and Alicia,
So
we love your countryness. What's funny is like I'm country as fuck too. I know I act like I like put that on and like I do that character, but what's funny is I come from this super, super duper country fucking family. Like whenever I was a kid, um, it was just something that I couldn't turn off. And as I started getting to a teen, like I started like disguising the countryness to where I got to a point where I just talked just like this, but I catch myself all the time, just a little,
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
weird how it happens, but um
Yeah. I've always been my whole family's nothing but I mean, like I said, they're nothing but country, and I can't change my accent too much, but I've never been, like, one to, like, really, like, do what they like. Like, they like the four-wheeling and the mudslinging and the
yeah.
donuts and hunting and the camo and, nothing but country music, and I'm just like, I don't I'm I'm the
You're a little
outcast.
bit
I'm the
different.
weirdo. I'm the weirdo. So,
Hey,
yeah.
I'm the weirdo too, man. Maybe that's why we all get along so good. And
Yeah.
Alicia's the weirdo too. We're a bunch of weirdos, man, and we're fun, loving, awesome people. So, well,
Yeah.
listen, stay on here for a second, Sam.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to all the screamers out there, scream scene. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Big shouts out to my good friend Sam from Sam's Pretty Paranormal. You guys can check her out. She is here on YouTube. And make sure you guys keep an eye open for her and my new movie, Mallet 2. That's coming out October 11th, but pre-orders do open up June 1st. And yeah, we love you guys so much. Make sure your notifications are on. There's a ton of content coming out on this channel, and we'll see you guys here in a few days. But until then, sweet nightmares.